Hello and good day. My name is Teacher JV, and welcome again to our another session of your anatomy and physiology. And right now we'll be talking about the chapter 7. It is all about your muscular system. Now, what I want you to do here is that you go through with your book and also with the materials that I sent in the Google Classroom. Okay, this one is more on analyzing the positions, the functions, and memorizing the muscles. Okay, so at the end of the lesson you should always you should know now where you can pin on or where you can identify the parts of the muscles. Okay, so are you guys ready? Awesome. So we're going to start now, and we're going to talk first here all about the functions of your muscular system. Okay, the very first one here is all about movement. Okay, so in movement, what is happening here is there is contraction of skeletal muscle, and that is the main responsible for our movement. Okay, that is why we are able to hold or grip into something, into our mugs, into our phones, into our pens, and also to our pencil. Okay, we can also walk, run, jump, and do any movement. It's because of our muscular system. Okay, the next one here is all about your maintain your posture. So remember that there is a pull of gravity, right? But because of our muscular system and because of our muscle tone, the tension in our muscles when we are at rest, what is happening here is when we are sitting or standing, our postures are being maintained because of our muscular system. Okay, now the next one here is all about your respiration. Okay, so in respiration, as you can see here in our diagram, this part here in our thoracic area, okay, there are muscles here actually in our thoracic cavity, which actually help us to breathe in oxygen and to expel carbon dioxide. Okay, and the responsible there is your muscles. Now let's move here. How about with the production of heat? So usually what is happening is when we are cold, like we are shivering, right? So that is the compensatory mechanism of our body. When we are cold, we are shivering. And what's happening here is there's a constant contraction of our muscles. So once our muscles are contracting, the byproduct there is actually the heat. Okay, so the body heat is being released because of the contraction of the muscle, which is very vital to maintain our internal state. Okay, next one here in terms of communication. So in communication, like our body muscles actually help us a lot in conveying the messages that we want to communicate to one person, like wherein we use our facial muscles here, and this one we can use the facial muscle to speak and do some expressions. We can use the our hands here to type or to write, and also the overall muscles in our body so that we can do some body gestures. So they are actually um, very important for us, especially in our profession as nurses, that communication is very crucial. Okay, next one that we're going to discuss is about the heartbeat. Okay, so you can see here in our illustration, our heart, it is actually mainly composed of cardiac muscle. Okay, so this cardiac muscle, which is in constant contraction, that causes our heart to beat and to deliver blood all over the parts of our body. Okay, and this is because of our muscles. Now let's move here to the last one, which is the contractions of organs and also vessels. So let's go here. So as you can see again here in our illustrations, the intestines are actually made up of smooth muscles, in which it is responsible for propelling the food and mixing the food and eventually distributing the nutrients to various organs. Okay, so basically these are the functions of our muscular system. I hope this one is clear so that we can move to the next one, which is this. Okay, so this one is all about the types of your muscle. So we're going to discuss the first one here, mainly your skeletal muscle. Now, if we say skeletal muscle, because these muscles are actually attached to our skeletal systems. Okay. And the next one here is your cardiac muscle, which we already discussed a while ago, that can be found in the heart, and your smooth muscle, where we can see this one in our intestines. So these are the types of muscles: skeletal, cardiac, and also smooth muscles. Okay, now let's move on to the abilities of your muscles. So the first one here, in terms of the abilities, is your excitability. Okay, so what is happening here in excitability? And look at here in the corresponding picture or illustration. So what is happening here is motor neuron will be responsible to stimulate the muscle cell by releasing chemicals. Okay, or example is neurotransmitter, your acetylcholine, making the muscle excited. Okay, so once the neuron was released, it will the muscle will actually respond to that kind of stimulus, making our muscles excited. Okay, so also as the muscle gets excited, they will actually contract. Okay, once the muscle contract, this is the ability to shorten. As you can see here, this one is the resting phase of the muscle, but they have the ability to contract. It means to shorten. Okay, now moving on, aside from ability to shorten, they also have the ability to stretch, which is what we call your extensibility. Okay, so aside from shortening, they can also stretch beyond their normal size. Okay, looking on the illustration, this is the normal or resting phase of the muscle. Then they can stretch beyond their normal size. Okay, this is extensibility. Now let's move to the next one, which is your elasticity. Okay, look at the last picture. In elasticity, it means it's being elastic. Okay, once you're going to stretch the muscle, there's actually resistance, and that resistance, the muscle can go back to its original size. Okay, and that one we term it as your elasticity. Okay, so this is the normal size. You're going to stretch it, and then there's resistance. It will go back to its original form. That is elasticity. Is it clear? Okay, awesome. Now let's move here. Okay, so what are the characteristics of your skeletal muscle? They makes up 40% of our body weight. Aside from that, the name, because attached to the bones, which we already discussed, it has many nuclei per cell. It is striated, and also they are the longest of muscle types. Okay, So next one here is we're going to discuss um, the skeletal muscle structures of your connective tissue coverings. Okay, so here imagine that we're going to look into a bone, and then we're going to chop it down, and it will look like this. Okay, so microscopically, it will look like this. So this is the bone, and then there's the attachment of the muscle. That is why it is called skeletal muscle. Now, as you can see, this is the bone, and then this is the tendon, the one that attaches the bone to the muscle. Okay, and now this is your skeletal muscle already. So as you can see here, this part, this is the belly part of the muscle, and we're going to chop it so that we can see it what's in the inside. Okay, once we dissect this one, it will reveal your epimysium. Okay, this one, so you can see here the bluish part here. Okay, there you go. This one, this is your epimysium. This is the connective tissue that surrounds the entire skeletal muscle, and this is the outermost part. Okay. Now, as you can see here, there are bundles of muscle fibers, right? Now, these bundles of muscle fibers, this is what we call actually as your muscle fasciculus, or the fascicles. Okay, these are the fascicles or the muscle fasciculus. They are bundles of muscle fibers, and as you can see again, surrounding your muscle fasciculus is actually your perimysium. Okay, so this one is your perimysium. So what if we're going to get one here, and then if you're going to draw one of that, it will reveal something like this again, and then each one is actually what we call your muscle fiber or the muscle cells. Okay, and each muscle cells is actually separated by your endomysium. Okay, this is the surrounding muscle fibers. Okay, now let's go back. So bones, tendons, and then skeletal muscle. The next thing that you're going to see here is your epimysium. And then if you're going to look closer again, you can see your perimysium, and then your muscle fasciculus or your fascicles, and then another covering, which is your endomysium, which covers your muscle fiber. Okay, now let's go closer, and I mean smaller, but we're going to magnify this one. So as you can see here, this one is your myofibril. This one, your myofibrils, these are the thread-like proteins that make up your muscle fibers. We will go back to that one later on. And this one here, this is your sarcoplasmic reticulum. This one, this is a type of your SER, and it surrounds your myosin, and it stores and releases your calcium ions. This part, sarcoplasmic reticulum. Now we also have your sarcolemma. Your sarcolemma is the cell membrane or that contains your T tubules. This one is the sarcolemma. Then this one is your T tubules. Okay. And then we also have the sarcoplasm. The sarcoplasm is the cytoplasm of your muscle fiber cells. Okay. Now let's move this one. So this is your myofilament. Your myofilament is actually the protein that makes up your myofibrils. Okay, so in myofibrils we have your actin, and we also have your myosin myofilament. Okay, and then this one, if you're going to distinguish this one, your actin is actually thinner compared to your myosin, which is thicker. Okay, and your actin, it resembles two strands of pearls, while this one, your myosin, is thicker and it looks like a golf club. Okay, and let's move here. So on this part, Okay, so as you can see, this is the whole sarcomere, and this sarcomere is actually it contains the overlapping myofilaments, overlapping actin, and overlapping myosin. As you can see, the thinner is your actin, and then myosin is the thicker. And then both of them are overlapping. Okay. Now, what is happening here is the muscle contracts when these filaments slide past each other. Okay. So when they slide to each other, the muscle will actually contract. Now, the muscle contraction is initiated when the muscle fibers are stimulated by a nerve pulse. Remember the response to stimulus, your excitability. Okay, now, so when that happened, the calcium ions are actually also being released. Okay, now let's focus first here in your actin myofilament, the thinner one. So as you can see here in actin myofilament, it has your tropomyosin, it has your troponin, and then your actin strands. Okay, your troponin here, this one, this is the attachment site on your calcium ions. While here, your tropomyosin, these are the filament on grooves of actin and attachment site on actin for the myosin. Okay, so let's go back again that when the muscle contraction is initiated when muscle fibers are stimulated by a nerve impulse, and then the calcium ions are actually released. Now, the binding displaces your tropomyosin. When the calcium ion will actually bind with your troponin, this tropomyosin is actually being displaced. Okay, so if no calcium is present, the tropomyosin, this one, will cover your attachment site. Once the attachment site is covered, it will prevent contraction from occurring. Okay, so that is why calcium ion is very important so that our muscles can actually contract properly. Okay, so let's move here. So how about the thicker one? The thicker one, again, is your myosin. Okay, as you can see here, the myosin, it has heads, and this one is your rod. Now, the heads are actually has three important properties. Okay, so what is happening here, it will bind to attachment site of the myosin filaments. As you can see here on this part, the head is being binded here. Then also in this part, the head is being binded to your actin myofilament. The next one is they bend and they straighten during contraction. So they will just go with the flow. Now, the last one is they break down your ATP or your adenosine triphosphate, thus the releasing of your energy. Okay, moving on. Here, your skeletal muscle structures. So this is the whole thing here. This is actually your sarcomere, which is the contractile unit and contains your actin and your myosin. Now, as you can see here, this is the Z line. Z line. So after Z line, another sarcomere. So it's like this is the one that separates one sarcomere to another, your Z line. And these protein fibers that form attachment of your actin. Now, your H zone, this one, this is the center of your sarcomere and contains only your myosin, while your I band, this one, contains only actin. Your A band here, this one, wherein actin and myosin overlap, as you can see here. This is where they overlap, your A band, and your M line, which is this one, where myosin are actually anchored. Okay, you can see a clearer illustration on your book. As you can see, the lines here. Please refer to your book. Let's go here. This time we will be talking about the excitability of your muscle fibers. Okay, meaning if we say excitability, like the cells in our body are actually polarized. I know you're already familiar with that one. It means they can be negatively or positively charged. Okay, remember we talked how particles are moving in and out before in the previous chapters. This is because of the permeability, right? And also with the help of our transport mechanism. Okay, now let's move here to the first one of your excitability of muscle. It's all about your resting membrane. Okay, so what is happening here, so you can see the outside of the cell, the sodium is positively charged, and inside the cell, the potassium is also positively charged, while the outside of the cell, there are more positively charged, and inside, there are actually more of negatively charged. And the sodium here, sodium channels are actually close. So you can see this one, this is sodium channel. Sodium channel, they are closed. But some of the potassium channels are actually open. So they can just pass through the membrane. Remember the bluish one, this is the membrane. It has the heads and the tail. Um, Hydrophilic, hydrophobic. I know you still remember those things. Okay, so this is your resting membrane potential. Your depolarization, what is happening here is change in charges. Inside becomes more positive and outside more negative. And the sodium channels are open. So sodium channels are open, while in your resting, sodium channels are actually closed. And some potassium channels are open. But here, more sodium channels are open. In your repolarization, sodium ion channels are actually closed. So you can see here, they are closed and change back to resting point. Okay. So you can see here in this illustration, please refer to your book. Let's move here to your nerve supply. Okay. So in your nerve supply, what is happening here is, I hope you can see a bigger picture on your book. So as you can see here, we have your motor neuron, serve cells that carry action potential to your muscle fibers. Okay, so the first one here, this part, this one is actually your neuromuscular junction or your synapse. This is where the nerve cells and muscle fiber meet. Okay, and as you can see here, this one, the one that is looking like a finger, this is your presynaptic terminal. This is the end of your nerve cell. Okay. Now here, as you can see, your post synaptic membrane. We're going to dissect that one and open. You can see here, this one, the end part. This is your postsynaptic membrane or the sarcolemma. Then we also have your synaptic cleft, this one. This is the space between your presynaptic, this one, and then your postsynaptic. So this space is what you call your synaptic cleft. And we also have your synaptic vehicles. So in presynaptic terminal, this store and releases your neurotransmitter. Okay. So skeletal muscle fibers do not actually contract unless they are stimulated by your motor neurons. Okay, so as you can see here, your synaptic vehicle, they store and release your neurotransmitters. Okay, your neurotransmitter, they're the chemicals that stimulate or inhibit a muscle fiber. Okay, an example for that is your acetylcholine. Now let's move here. Okay, these are bigger pictures, as you can see, and also this one. Okay, so let's go here and look closely on this illustration in our monitor. This is the function of your neuromuscular junction. So this one is actually, it's very easy to follow and understand. Just read the passage here and you can actually go with the flow. So what is happening here, as you can see, there is an action potential coming from a stimulus. Now, your action potential here, it will arrive on your presynaptic terminal, now causing your calcium ion channels to open. So once the action potential will arrive to your presynaptic terminal, it will trigger or stimulate your calcium ion channels to open. So once this one is open, your calcium ions enter into your presynaptic terminal and initiate the release of your neurotransmitter. Example is your acetylcholine. Now, from your synaptic vesicle, which is this one, into your presynaptic cleft. Remember the space between, that is your presynaptic cleft. So from this one, it will go here. Now, what will happen? The diffusion of your acetylcholine across the synaptic cleft and binding here to your acetylcholine receptors on your postsynaptic muscle fiber membrane. It will now open your sodium ion channels. So once the sodium ion channels diffuse down their concentration gradient, which result in your depolarization of the muscle fiber membranes, if threshold has been reached, a postsynaptic action potential results. Okay, so that's how explained the function of your neuromuscular function. So let's move here to the next. Okay, so here we're going to discuss the steps in muscle contraction or your sliding filament theory. I think this is briefly discussed when we talk about your actin myofilament and your myosin filament. So what's happening here is an action potential travels down motor neuron to your presynaptic terminal, causing your sodium, your calcium ion channels to open. Now your calcium ions causes your synaptic vesicle to release your acetylcholine into your synaptic cleft. I think we have, okay, there you go. We have here an illustration, a picture. So again, this one we have another AP, and then your AP potential travels along an axon membrane into your neuromuscular junction. Then what will happen here, okay, once it will arrive, your calcium ion channels open and it will enter to your presynaptic terminal. So once it will enter here, your acetylcholine is released from your synaptic vesicle, which is this one. So after that, your acetylcholine stimulates your sodium ion channels on your postsynaptic membrane to open. Okay, so once it is open, as you can see here above, your sodium ion diffuses into the muscle fiber, initiating an action here, action potential that travels along your sarcolemma and then your T-tubules membrane. Now, the action potentials in the T-tubules cause your sarcoplasmic reticulum to release your calcium ions. And remember that we've already discussed to you the parts of your actin myofilament, this one. So what will happen here is that on the actin, calcium ions binds to your troponin. And then remember, it will displace your tropomyosin. It's because if there are no calcium, your tropomyosin will actually attach to your attachment site that will prevent contraction to occur. But if there is calcium ion, it will go to your binding site, to your troponin. It will displace your tropomyosin, and then it will expose your myosin attachment site. Okay, and here the heads of the myosin filament This one, this is the part, right? The head and the rod. Okay, what is happening here, it will attach itself here. So the head of the myofilament bends, causing the actin to slide past the myosin. As long as calcium ions is present, the cycle repeats. So if no calcium ions, there is no contraction. Okay? Okay, awesome. Then I hope you you remember this one and you've reviewed this one as well. Okay, so let's go here, your adenosine triphosphate and your muscle contractions. The energy for muscle contraction supplied by your adenosine triphosphate. So energy is released as your ADP from the byproduct of your adenosine diphosphate plus another phosphorus. Okay, so your ATP, this is stored in your myosin heads, and the ATP helps from your cross bridge formation between your myosin and your actin. Now, the new adenosine triphosphate must bind to myosin before cross bridge is released. Okay. Now, this picture, I think this one is already familiar with you. Maybe you've seen a family member who, who died, and then this happens. In medical term, we call this as your rigor mortis. So what is happening here is the person dies and no ATP is available to release in your cross bridges. Okay, so this is your post-mortem change resulting in the stiffening of the body muscles due to the chemical changes in myofibrils. So this one is, it will actually help the police or the FBI in estimating the time since death, as well as ascertain if the body was actually moved. Okay, so when the body stiffens, something like this, or when the person dies, there are no adenosine triphosphate already. That is why the body will stiffen. Okay, so this is another explanation of what we have talked a while ago. Now, another other information about this one, your ATP is made in your mitochondria from aerobic or anaerobic respiration. I hope this one is already discussed in your biochemistry. Now, we also have during a muscle contraction, your H zone and your I band, they actually shorten or they will contract, but A band stays the same. Striation of skeletal and cardiac muscle are due to your sarcomeres. Your sarcomeres are your actin and your myosin, the thin and then the thick. Okay, moving on here, we have some terminologies that we need to learn. The first one is your threshold. If we say threshold, this is the weakest stimulus needed to produce a response. Your all or none law, this is muscle contraction or doesn't. The twitch is the rapid contraction and relaxation of muscle, while your tetanus, the muscle remains contracted. Okay, now looking forward here. So this one is an illustration of your muscle twitch. As you can see here, we have three phases: your lug, contraction, and relaxation. Now, so once a stimulus is being applied, the first thing that will go here is your lug or your latent phase. Okay, this time or this period between the application of the stimulus to the motor neuron and the beginning of your contraction. Okay, while your contraction phase here, this is the phase is the time during which contraction occurs. Okay, and the last one here, this is your relaxation phase. Is the time during which the relaxation occurs. Okay, another thing here is this is the multiple wave simulation. You can actually read your book and refer upon this one. This is the twitch. This is the incomplete tetanus, and then this is your complete tetanus, where there's a continuous when there is a continuous contraction in the body. Moving forward here, we're going to talk about the types of muscle contraction. So if we talk about the types of muscle contraction, it's either your isometric or your isotonic. What I want you to remember here, isotonic, same tension, changing in the length. While your isometric, same length, changing in tension, as you can see here in the picture, okay? Same here, look, same tension, same length. This one, same length, different, or there's a change in tension. This one contracted, the muscle contracted. Okay, are we good? Awesome. Now let's go here. We're going to talk the slow and fast twitch fibers. The slow twitch fibers contract slowly, fatigue slowly. Long distance runners, you know, those person who are very fond of running or doing some relay, okay, use aerobic respiration. I know you're already familiar with this one. We use our body fats or sugar into energy by the help of our oxygen, right? And then example is the use of the glucose molecule from the food that will undergo multiple processes such as your glycolysis. Then eventually it can produce adenosine triphosphate as an energy. Okay, also energy from fat, a dark meat. We also have the red or dark because of your myoglobin. Now your myoglobin, it helps your oxygen bind into your muscle. Next one is your fast twitch. What's happening here, there's the contract is quickly, the fatigue quickly also. This one is the sprinters. Use anaerobic respiration and energy from our glycogen. You can usually get this one in see in your white meat. Other facts about the twitch muscle is humans have both types of fibers. Distribution of fibers is genetically determined, and neither type can be converted, but capacity can be increased through your intense exercise. Okay, and we have here the characteristics of your muscle fibers. Please refer to your books about this one. You can find this one on the latest edition of our book 7.1. Okay, now let's move here. That is actually on, okay, this is actually on page 161 if you have the 10th edition of our book. Now let's move here. So we're going to talk now your skeletal muscle anatomy. Okay, so again, this one is more on analyzing the function and also the position of your muscle. So please memorize. Now let's go to talk first here about the origin. If we say origin, it means here it says that it's non-movable. It means it is stationary or it's already fixed. Okay, as you can see here on this picture, this is the origin of your biceps, this part, your scapula, and this one. So it means that this is not moving already, or this is fixed. Okay, now if we say insertion, it is movable. Okay, let's find insertion here. Okay, this part. So this one, the one in your elbow, this one is actually movable. Okay, and the next one is the belly. The belly is the middle. This one, the biggest part of your muscle. The next one is your, what we call your synergists. This one is the muscle that work together. Okay, the muscles that work together. Example here are your deltoids, your biceps, your brachii, and your pectoralis major. They're working together to flex actually your shoulder. Okay, next one is what we call your antagonists. Your antagonists, muscles that oppose each other. Okay, so an example here is when your triceps oppose your contraction of the flexing biceps by relaxing, the triceps would regarded as your antagonist or antagonistic muscle to the biceps, whereas the biceps, it is your agonist muscle. Okay, so just remember here your locations. Now let's go here in nomenclature. This is how are you going to actually name your muscles. Okay, so here we have in terms of location. Okay, example is your tibialis anterior. Your tibialis anterior is this one. Why is it called tibialis anterior? It is because it is near the anterior part of your tibial or the tibial bones. Okay. Next one here is origin or insertion. Example is your sternocleidomastoid muscle. Remember, origin means not moving. Your insertion is moving. Okay. So as you can see here, our muscle, the sternocleidomastoid, the origin is actually here in your sternum. Okay, and also your clavicle, that is the origin. And the insertion is here on your mastoid process of the temporal of the skull. Okay, next one, it's about the size. Okay, we can name our muscle due to size. Example here is this, gluteus maximus. This is the muscle in our butt. Okay, in our buttocks. So if we say maximus, it means large. Okay, we can also call this one gluteus minimus. It means short. Okay, we can also have your longus. It means long, or brevis means short. So we can actually name muscles based on their sizes. Next one, we're going to talk about the shape. Okay, as you can see here, the deltoid, which is triangular. Okay. Next is the function, which is your masseter. Okay, we've talked the masseter already. So in terms of masseter, this muscle is one of the 4 muscles responsible for the action of our mastication. Mastication is the medical term for chewing. Okay. So when the masseter contracts, it causes a powerful elevation of your mandible, okay, causing the mouth to close. Okay, so that is according to function. How about here in your muscles of the head and the neck? Okay, so here, this part, this is what we call the occipitofrontalis, because it is in your occipital area and it is in the frontal side. Okay, this one, it will help to raise your eyebrows. Okay, next one, we have your orbicularis oculi, the muscles here in our eyes, which allow us to blink. Okay, you can feel that now. You can try it on your face. Try to blink. Okay, now you can blink. It's because of your orbicularis oculi. Next one, orbicularis oris. If we say orbicularis oris, this is what we call your kissing muscle. You learned something today. This is your orbicularis oris, the one that we use to kiss someone else. Okay, but please don't apply it yet. Just learn. Okay, learn the terms. Orbicularis oris is this one. Now let's go to your zygomaticus. Your zygomaticus, which one here? Okay, on this part, you can feel it in your face. You can palpate that one. That is your smiling muscle. That is in your cheek. Okay, so when you smile, try to smile now. Okay, awesome. That is because of your zygomaticus. And your masseter here, this one, this is used in chewing, or in medical term, we call it your mastication. Okay? Now, in order for you to memorize this one, just try, reciting it like you are reciting a spell, like in Harry Potter. Okay, like occipitofrontalis, something like that, or orbicularis oculi, in order for you to properly say the words and memorize this one. Okay, let's go here in your muscles on facial expression and mastication. You can just see this one on your book. And let's move here to your thoracic muscles. Okay, feel your rib cage. Okay, there are muscles there. So what we're going to learn here is the first is your external intercostals, which is this one here. This one will elevate the ribs for inspiration. So when you inhale, okay, it's actually your intercostals, external intercostals. Now let's go to your internal intercostals. This one, okay, this one depress the ribs during false expiration, like okay, that is your external your internal intercostals. Well, here we have your diaphragm. Please, I'm advising you to memorize the spelling of your diaphragm. This moves during quiet breathing. Okay, so when we are breathing silently, this is the one who is actually moving. Okay, so these are the muscles that we use in in breathing, the muscles in our thoracic cavity. And let's go here to your abdominal wall muscles. Okay, those people who have actually abs can actually check that one in your body. So we have here your rectus abdominis, which is this one. Okay, your rectus abdominis, this is the center of your abdomen, and it compresses your abdomen. So we also have your external abdominal oblique, which is this one, oblique. Remember, it is slant. Okay, so this part here, you can feel this one in your body. This one is the sides of your abdomen and compresses also your abdomen. We also have your internal abdominal oblique, which is this one. Next to your external abdominal oblique, it also compresses the abdomen. Next one is your transverse abdominis. If we say transverse abdominis, here. Okay, this one is, the position is already here. It also helps in compressing your abdomen. So these are the abdominal wall muscles. Okay, moving on, next one is here. Please check this part on your book, read it properly, and analyze it. Let's go to the muscles on your upper limb. Okay, so this one is what we call the trapezius. Okay, this part here is the trapezius, the shoulders, and the upper back, which actually extends here to the head and to the neck. We call that trapezius. Now let's move here. This one is your pectoralis major. This one is anterior view already, okay? The chest, okay? Your chest area, we call that your pectoralis major, which is your chest, which elevates the ribs. Moving to the next, this is your serratus anterior. Okay, here, okay, as you can see, this is our rib cage between the ribs. The muscles there, we call it your serratus anterior. Okay, a while ago, we already talked about this one. This is the deltoid shoulder abductor for upper limbs. This is the one that we are using for injecting our patients, the deltoid area. Next one, let's move to your triceps brachii. Okay, that is why tri, it's because it is 3 muscles. Triceps brachii, 3 heads, extend elbow. So this is the elbow, and these are the triceps brachii. While here, biceps, it is 2 muscles. Biceps brachii, this is your flexing muscle. When you flex your muscles. Okay, flexes elbow and also your shoulder. Your brachialis, this one is flexes your elbow. Your latissimus dorsi, dorsi means on the dorsal part. at the back portion of your body. This one, you can see it in the lower back and extends to your shoulder. Okay, there's another illustration here. Please check this one on your books. And also this one. Please read properly this table, the muscle origin, insertion, and also the action. Okay, as well as this one. So let's go here. Let's go a bit lower. And we're going to talk about the muscles of your hips and your thighs. So this one, as you can see here, your hip bone and the muscle that is sitting there. Actually, that is your iliopsoas. Okay, how to pronounce this one? Iliopsoas or iliopsoas. I think it's iliopsoas. Look up. This is, if you use this one, it will actually flex your hip. Okay. You also have your gluteus maximus. While maximus, again, it's because it is according to the size, right? So your buttocks here, which extend your hip and abducts your thigh. Okay. So abduct is away from the midline, right? Or that is adduct. Okay. Now gluteus medius, this part here, this is the hip, and abducts and rotates your thigh. So when you move this one, when you do exercises, your hip, that is because of your gluteus medius. Okay, read that one. Now let's go here with the muscles on our upper leg. So we actually have your quadriceps femoris. So there are 4 muscles there. You have here first your rectus femoris, which is this one. This is the front of the thigh, extends to your knee here and to your flexes your hip here. Okay, we also have here your vastus lateralis. So it means on the lateral side, this one extends your knees. This one, I'm sorry, this part. Your vastus lateralis, it means on the lateral side, on the side, side view of your thigh. So this one, it actually extends the knees. And we also have your vastus medialis, the one that is here, almost near the middle part. Okay, this one extends the knee, and also here your medialis. Okay, let's move here. Your gracilis adducts the thigh and flexes your knee. This one, your biceps femoris or semimembranous semitendinosus. This is your hamstring dito sa may back portion ng inyong thigh, yung hamstring. And also it flexes your knee, rotate the leg, and extends also your hip. So you can see here another illustration and how it looks like. This one is in your book. Now let's go to your lower leg. In your lower leg, we have your muscles of the lower leg. This one, your tibialis anterior. Again, why is it named like that? It is because it is near your tibia and it is in your anterior side. So the front of the lower leg inverts your foot. Okay? This one, this is yung calf, yung medyo malaman dyan sa lower limb natin. This is the calf or your gastrocnemius. Okay, this one flexes the foot and also your leg. Okay, your soleus here attaches your ankle here to your foot. Okay, this is how it looks like on your books. You can check this one. And please, I want you to memorize this. Your facial muscles, your deltoid, you know how to label properly the anterior part of your muscular system, and also the other parts of your the detailed parts of your anterior or the posterior part of the body in terms of muscles. Okay, so again, this is more of memorizing the body parts. And last one here, this is the comparison of your comparison of the muscle types. Again, we have your skeletal muscle. Why is it skeletal again? Because it is attached to the skeletons. Next one, your cardiac. It is for your heart. And the smooth muscles is usually you can find this one um, in the walls of the organs, blood vessels, and your glands, and also your intestines. Okay, so that's it for your muscular system. Again, as reinforcement, please read your books and also the other videos that I've sent in our Google Classroom. So I'll see you again next time and stay awesome. Thank you.